Hey, it's Michael, and today we're going to be talking about tags. We're going to end up making a new screen to be similar to what we made in our last lab, and we're going to add some tags to it, and we'll put some additional objects out there, and we'll add tags to those as well. But hopefully, after today's lesson, you'll have a pretty thorough understanding of how to use tags properly. So let's go through and remake the valve that we made last week. Now that I've got my basic shapes out there, I'm going to add my first tag. I'm going to go up to my database, and I'm going to go to tag name database. So if you've got a tag out there that's not being used, you can click on the tag name and you can actually delete it, which is what I'm doing here. I think I've got another one down here at the bottom. Nope. All right, so these are internal tags. They've already been made for you. You're welcome to use them. I don't think you can delete any of them. We'll try. All right, you can't delete them. Some things to look at real quick. All right, let's go add a tag. So I'm going to add a tag called button _1. So you can't use spaces in this program, which is pretty typical of most HMIs. Instead of a space you're going to use an underline. Now we have several different types of tags that we can choose from. Discrete tags are on/off, and that's what you typically use for buttons. So that's what I'm going to choose here in just a minute, but I'm going to talk about the other ones. Signed integers. We can make numbers from negative 32,768 to a positive 32,767. Basically what it's going to do, it's going to take the most significant bit. In this case, it would be bit 16 if we start with 1. And it's going to make that determine whether the number is positive or negative. Now, there's some more math involved in that. It's something called 2's complement, but it doesn't really matter for our purposes. Signed integers can go positive or negative, and if you use 16 bits, we've got up to about 32,000. An unsigned 16-bit integer can only go from 0, but we double the range. So before we were at 32,767. With an unsigned integer, we can go up to 0, from 0 to 65,535. So we gain a lot of range, but we lose the possibility of having negative numbers. A signed integer that's 32 bits goes up to negative 2,147,463,000 and some change. To the positive side of that, it's going to be positive 2,147,483. Yeah, it's big. All right. BCD is binary coded decimal. We will get to that a little bit later. It's used for displays and thumb wheels. It's part binary and part decimal. Like I said, we'll get to that. Floating point 32-bit. This is when we need high precision. We're going to need a decimal point. So floating point, think decimal points. So numbers with decimal points. And then we've got ASCII string. ASCII is American Standard Code for Information Interchange. It's basically was developed a long time ago for a way to send letters and numbers as binary. And we will use it when we have messages. So if you want to send text from one place to another, we use ASCII strings. And we'll get to that a little bit later. So let's go back. Discrete, on and off. And we don't want to mess this up. We have to think about it, because once you use these, you can't delete them. So once they're actually using the program, once this tag button 1 is using the program, we can't delete it without going back and finding all the places we use button 1 and removing it, and then we can delete the tag and make it the right value it was supposed to be, rather than, so for instance, if you put discrete and it was supposed to be an integer, you will have to find all the button ones and get rid of it. All right, so I'm going to add that, and we should find that button 1 shows up in our database. I'll close this, and there's button 1. Is it discrete? Now, we haven't changed this, the retentive feature, and we can. Retentive means that when it starts back up, it goes back to the value that it was to begin with. So if your machine was running and this was a 1, when the machine starts back up, after, let's say, a power outage, this would go back to 1. A lot of times that's kind of dangerous. So normally I keep these at false. This is a read and write tag, so it can read information and write information. Right now it's unused. And it's an internal tag. In other words, it's stored inside the HMI. Now, some tags might be stored inside the PLC. So we're going to get information from the PLC. It'll be stored in the PLC. It won't be an internal tag. But for right now, we're just going to be using internal tags. So we've got an internal tag called button_1, and it's underscore because we can't have spaces. Tag names can be up to 40 characters long. It's discrete, which means it's on and off. The address doesn't matter right now for us, or does the data count. And we just talked about retentive. We typically keep that false. And most of the tags that we use will be read and write. And we'll save the changes. All right, so I'm going to click on one of the elements, one of the objects there in my valve. Let's go to advanced, and in advanced we have the same type thing. We're going to go to the tag name database, but we have an on color and an off color. So I'm going to go to advanced. I'm going to click on tag name, and I'll go to button 1, and I want it when it's on, it's red, and when it's off, it is green. Let's go back to this one, and we'll do the same thing here. Tag name, button 1, that's green. And I'll do the other objects as well. All right, so everything right now is red. Let's go add our button. And we'll give it the same tag name. Now, this is the way that most things work in an HMI. Everything is tag driven. If you want to change anything, you have to have a tag. A tag is a variable, and variables are things that can change. So button 1 is a memory location inside the HMI where we store data. And that data, since we made a discrete tag, can either be on or off, a 1 or a 0. So anytime you want to change anything, you've got to have a tag associated with it. In our case, we want it so when the button is on, it's going to give us a 1. When the button is off, it's going to give us a 0. We have some options here. Do we want it momentary, where when you press it, it comes on, and when you let off, it goes off? Or do you want to make it so that the opposite, so when you push it, it goes off, and you let off, it goes back on? We can make a set button and a reset button. In our case, we're just going to leave it as a toggle. You press it once, it turns on. You press it again, and it goes off. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and make sure this works. And now you can see our valve symbol actually changes color to indicate whether it's on or off. All right, let's add some other things here. We're going to add a slider. I'm going to make the range of the slider -100, to +100. There's no tag, so we got an error saying, hey, wait a minute, no tag, you can't have these values. So let's go make a tag. Let's call this analog, and I'll go analog_1. So we gave it a tag name, and now we need to make sure that we've got everything set up right. It's an internal tag. It's just in the HMI. We're not connected to a PLC or anything. We're going to use a signed integer, so it's a signed 16-bit. We don't need more than 32,000. Our meter's only going up to positive and -100. So I'll add that and go close. All right, so now when we simulate this, we can actually move our, let's go back and check. Let's put this back at -100. All right, so there is a tag that we've added here, analog, and it's being controlled by our slider. Let's go to an analog meter. And we're going to use the same tag. We're going to have to go change our range to match. Got lots of different options that you could do here. Lots of different divisions. We can change the label. Let's call this vacuum. So it's our vacuum meter. Different frame styles. Right now, I'm just going to use the default frame styles. And we'll click OK. All right, so we have a analog1 tag name on our slider. We have an analog1 tag name on our vacuum meter. So let's go simulate. You'll notice when I let off of the slider, the vacuum meter updates. Everything else still works. We're going to go add a numeric display. So there's our display. We'll use the same tag name. We're going to use a different frame style. I'm going to put it to none. And I'll click OK. I'm going to shrink this down. Make our vacuum meter just a little bigger. I'm going to put that right there. So I selected both pieces, and now let's align to the center. So that way we lined up perfectly there. So what do you suppose is going to happen? Well, since we use the same tag every place, when I move the slider, this number should change, and it should correspond to the values on our meter and the values on the slider. So let's set this close to 0 here someplace. So we're 2, -1. All right. could also make it so if we wanted to, we can enter the value. So I can go in here and I can enter, and you can see the minimum maximum for the tag type that we're using is 32,768 negative, 32,767 positive. We can put in a negative 25 and hit enter. And everything goes to negative 25. So the tag name is just a memory location, and we can put numbers into or read from that memory location to make all these other things happen. All right, let's go take a look at deleting a tag. Let's go up to our database. We'll go tag name database, and let's go see if we can delete analog 1. So I clicked on analog 1. I go up to delete, and you get a message saying, do you want to delete the tags? Analog 1 is associated with an object, so you can't delete it. Now, where all is analog 1? Well, in our case, we've got it in several different places. The way to find that is going to be to go to Tool here and go to Tag Cross-Reference. And we're going to sort by tag. And I'm going to go pick our tag, analog 1. All right, so it tells us we have 4 places that we are using this tag. They're all on screen 1. We've only got one screen, so they're all on this screen, but they're in the slider, the analog meter, the numeric display, and the numeric entry. We would have to go and remove this tag from each and every one of those in order to be able to delete this tag. And you don't want to have tags that you're not using. It's confusing for people that are updating or working on the HMI, and it also takes up additional memory that you may need later on. So if we were going to go delete a tag, we would have to go into each of those objects, and we would have to change the tag name in here. So in our case, we always need to go in and put in a valid tag in here. So we'd have to make a new one. Maybe we call it analog 2. And we would have to change all of them. So it's really important that you get your tag names right the first time instead of waiting until you find out you've made a mess. All right, so this is kind of an ugly screen right now. Let's straighten things up just a little bit. Make it look a little bit nicer. So I have moved the vacuum meter and the digital display there. Now I've got to go back and line these up, but I want to show you this. If we would have gone here, selected both of these, and made this, we group these objects, now I can move the whole thing without having to worry about it. So here's what we're going to do for our purposes. I'm going to group these two as well. We are going to line these all up. I'll turn this guy off. Let's group him. So I'm going to select these two, and I want to align them to the bottom. So now all of these things are aligned. I want to align these two so they're straight up and down. So I'm aligned to center. And now I'm going to bring my valve down. Oops. Let's go back and align this to the bottom. All right. Bring this down. And we'll just make sure I've got them aligned. And I'm going to group those. All right, so now everything is aligned. It's not spaced very well, so let's go ungroup these. I'm going to group that and that. And this and that. All right, there we go. Now let's grab everything. And we can space these or distribute them horizontally so that there's an equal distance between them. There we go. Now our panel looks a little bit better. Maybe that's not exactly where we want things, but they are spaced and aligned appropriately. All right, so for your lab, I also want you to add your name to the bottom of this someplace. So we'll go over and get some text so you can add your name. There we go. Just static text. And I'm going to put that over here. I'll put Michael Beaver. All right, so we've gone through all the different types of tags. We've used a couple of different types of tags in here. We'll continue to use more as we go through this. You had a chance to do a little bit of animation. We've got our sliders, we've got our vacuum meter, and we are changing the color of our valve. So I think that sets us up for our next module really well. So we'll continue to build on the things that you've learned so that by the time we get done with this class, you will feel very comfortable creating an HMI application. All right, have a great day, and I will see you in the lab.